Hi, everyone. So excited to be here. I'm honored again to have Kathleen with us. Kathleen was here prior and did just a wonderful job of bringing value and really aligning with the audience. So I'm so happy to have her back. Today's word is recognition. It may say retention on the top, but that was just because I couldn't figure out which words. And we decided to keep the second place one also. So with that said, chat's wide open. We depend on your comments to make us as relevant as possible and to give you some really great, valuable takeaways that you can actually get value for the time, thought, and effort you're putting in today. With that, let me turn it over to Kathleen, and Kathleen will bring you up to date and also her initial thoughts on recognition. Kathleen?
Hello, everyone, and hi, Don. It's so great to see everyone today. November 8th, it's my husband's birthday, so happy birthday, Andy Votaw. And, recognition is a really important thing in life, personal life, and in business life. I love recognition, and I worry about it because so many of us don't do it well. And we get all tied up in a pretzel in the workplace and how to give people recognition. We have head trash sometimes because we never got it, so we're not going to give it either. And what do you need more recognition for? Don't I pay you? I hear these themes from people in the workplace, and I want to kind of unpack recognition today because recognition is about seeing the other person.
Mm-hmm.
It's really that noticing the other person and hopefully noticing them doing more good than bad. Wouldn't we be better off, Don, if the entire world was focused on looking at things, what are we doing well versus reporting on everything that we're doing bad in the media? But it's a whole nother hour of Empower, But it really truly is seeing the other person, and it is important that we pause to recognize where people are. So let me give you a couple examples of that.
Please.
In the workplace, you can, as a leader, and good morning, Harvey. Thank you for being here. Really, it's like when you were young, you were taught to stop, look, and listen before you cross the street. When you get into your offices, whether it's virtually or in person, just take a moment to observe your team. There's a lot you can see from nonverbals. Mm-hmm. And have the grace to say, Don, how are you? You look a little worried today, or you look a little rushed today. Is your mind on something else? So compassion goes along with recognition and taking the time to ask the question, how are you? What's happening in your life? What do you think about that, Don?
I think a lot. And I think you set it up really well for me because, in every word, there's a degree. There's an element. There's no real absolute. I mean, everybody gets recognized, some at a very low energy scale, and some get full recognition. Mm-hmm. I think the key thing is what is longer lasting recognition. Mm-hmm. When you give somebody something and they put it on their desk.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They take it home and they pin it on the wall if it's a medal or a plaque. And those things are just what they are, medals and plaques. It's how they were given in front of who it was given. That's why people usually have a ceremony for that whole saying, praise in public, criticize in private. If you're going to really take the time and effort to genuinely recognize somebody, why not have a little party? Why not invite friends and 30, 40 people, and then you can give a speech. And that person, it'll be one of the best nights of their life. And all it takes is a little planning. Now, again, you have to have purpose. So what is the purpose in recognition? Is it to help the person? Is it to help yourself in front of the person? And, at the end of the day, is recognition backed up by further activity?
Mm-hmm.
What changes when you're the top cook, right? Do you get a raise? Do you get another position? Do you get whatever? And that reinforces it, because then it's not just words of recognition, but words attached to action. So what's your thoughts based on that?
Well, I love your point that pointing out the tangible, tactile reminders of the recognition, because for some people those are really important, and they can be little things like a note to home. They could be the medals that you mentioned. They could be a cupcake. They could be whatever the person wants. Make sure it's about the person, not you. I think I mentioned in our last conversation, a great book, a resource called Giftology, on how to gift to someone if you're going to do tangible gifts. So be careful. Also, when we have introverts working for us, and many of us have extroverts and introverts do not want to be called out. I have a woman on my team. Her name is Alicia. And she gets recognized a lot by her peers, recognized really from her team. And every time we try to publicly recognize her, she actually says, "I think I'm going to vomit." so if she's listening, I love you. And so we try to tone it down a little bit. So know your audience when you're giving recognition, because you might inadvertently push them away from you because you're putting too much emphasis on them. So it's a delicate piece, and it's the number one reason. The reason it's so important is it's the number one reason people are leaving companies. It's the number one reason. We think it's because of the boss. That's number two. People do quit people. That's number two. Number one is they're not getting the recognition they need. And that is just so tragic, because we can do something about it. But from our audience that's listening, why is it so hard for us to give freely to the people who are supporting our customers? And Harvey just made a really nice point. Recognition is so important. People want a voice to be heard, and especially as a leader, this is the way you nurture someone and bring them out best. It's wonderfully said, Harvey. I mean, it's just, they need that voice. So I wonder from our audience, what's the problem? I mean, why can't we? Why can't we do it? What have you seen in your career, Don? Like people who are not as open to the recognition that employees need. What's the gap? What have you seen?
That's a great question. And what I've been able to experience, because I've been an entrepreneur, owned my own businesses for 37 years, is I wanted to get the whole person, not just the work person. And by breaking through to being friendly, not friends, because there's a fine line, because you still have to, there's a point where you've got responsibilities and accountabilities, and that can't have too much of an effect. But it's, there's a saying, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Theodore Roosevelt.
Yeah. And I loved him anyways, in addition. It's the same thing. Why would you expect someone to do anything more or extra when you're not creating an opportunity for that, and you're not encouraging that by your invitation? Like, I'm going to open up if you'll open up, and together maybe we'll find more things together, but at least we have understanding, some communication, and recognition is, here's where I feel about you right now. Whatever happened or didn't happen, you're number one, or you really excelled at what you did. So it also shows you can put your past behind, right? You can be recognized for your present and what you're doing, versus a label that came with you because that's where you were. And I think that's important. The past shouldn't define the future. And the other thing is a smart team member would encourage that themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Recognize a boss. How many times does someone come up and say, hey, I really like that new policy of yours, you
Right.
know? Or
Mm-hmm.
I think, hey, we did great with that new ramp that we put on, saving customers all kinds of trouble. I mean, I think those are the things that you recognize, because anybody can say top 6 salesman, you
No.
know, and then it's like, okay, well, I was 2, now I'm 5. What difference does it make? So I think it's really taking the initiative, reaching out to know what kind of company or what kind of team you have.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
you're there putting your hand out, opening things up, trying to make things happen, and they're putting you off, well, you're going to have a tough go there if you take that direction. And maybe that's a sign of future things to come. Harvey, who's just great. Harvey's a franchise specialist out in London or England, and also has been on the show 6 months, I think, in a row. I was doing every other Fridays and went to every other Sundays. And then about 7 weeks ago, Harvey got his franchise show, which is at 12 p.m. Eastern time, following my show on Tuesdays. So Harvey's just the greatest. If you're looking at someone to recognize, Harvey's right up there with the top people on LinkedIn, and he's so giving. Sundays, he runs a whole column just for people who are looking for work, and he tries
Okay.
to find them jobs. So there is a similarity there. And really, I think that's the key. Is recognition is not just people, it's recognition of situations, of environments,
Mm-hmm.
being the first to recognize, that, hey, we need to do this or whatever. So throwing it right back to you, Kathleen, we've got another comment. I can only believe it's Carrie, who comes here every day and tells jokes. So with that, Kathleen, Harvey, well, Harvey's grateful. It's always good, Harvey. And I think that's the essence of community and collaboration is
Mm-hmm.
people that you really care about as a person, not just as a client, not just as a as a supplier, but somebody you genuinely enjoy seeing. And how many times people ask you about your kids, ask you about what you just talked about. Leslie's here. Leslie's everywhere. She does every Saturday with Catherine Chadwick. She has her Think and Grow Rich show on Fridays. She has her audio event on Monday, Mind Over Matter. She just started another 12-week program on whatever it is. Leslie, you're more than happy to put a link in. So I'm glad to have you. And, I think that's the key is people showing up and recognition the way. So what have you found in your career? I don't even know. I forgot the question he asked me originally on something about something.
Well, we're talking about recognition. You made a great point about recognition goes both ways. You said, you made a really good comment in what you just said. Employees need to also recognize their employers for the work that they're doing. So this isn't a one-way street. This is a two-way street. And it's about human relations. It's about kindness. In my book, Dare to Care in the Workplace, I mean, it's when I was writing it, I'm like, well, people really appreciate this because some of the concepts are very basic for me as a human. But it really has empowered many people to have a voice in that human kindness. I talk about faith, not just in God, but in people, in each other. Have a little faith in each other. John Hyatt wrote a great song, Have a Little Faith in Me. I love that song, if anybody knows John Hyatt. And that's what that's based on. And then empathy and compassion for each other and building community. I mean, like you're building community here. I'm going to reach out to Harvey. I'm going to reach out to Leslie. We're going to connect. And now we're connected. We're building community together, which is recognition of each other. It's not just recognition of employee to employer, but we're recognizing each other in this community we're building for the work that we're doing. To give you an example, I'm a speaker in multiple different communities. And I heard from one of my team members that he sat in on a speaker session on Monday. So I took the time to send a note to the speaker who inspired my employee and thank him for giving him some lessons that he otherwise might not have learned. So taking the time to thank people is recognition. Just thank you for being there. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate the wisdom you imparted to someone else, or just being genuinely observing life, observing people's actions, and seeing it. In that movie, has anybody ever seen Avatar? If you've seen that movie Avatar, do you remember how they say I love you? Anybody in the chat, do they know how Avatar says I love you? They say I see you. I see you. People just want to matter. They want to be seen. They want to matter to the other person, right? Maya Angelou says, no one will remember what you said or did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And that is what recognition's all about, really seeing the other person and spending a moment just, with them in their presence and in what they need. So I think if we could just all do a little bit more of that in the workplace, in our personal lives, in politics, in the media, in the world, gosh, it would be just a really wonderful place to be. Leslie says, maybe recognition is an acknowledgement. Yes, it's an acknowledgement of the other human. I see you. I think making sure we see people every day, one person every day. Maybe that's the goal, Don. Think that would help?
Yeah, I think it would absolutely help. And I believe that people are running through things and forgetting about people along the way.
Mm-hmm.
But they should be stopping with people and not getting through their things so much, because, how much of it is about you? How much of it serves your soul, right? How much feeds your knowledge and experience or whatever? And everybody's got experience. Everybody's got the same time every day since they've been here, and they've done something with it. They probably did things with theirs that you didn't do with yours. And there's a learning opportunity, because the community, the benefit is knowledge share. If 40 people learn something next week, come back here and share it with 40 people, just the ability to build that much synergy and opportunity, and it's really trust. So, you have to have trust to be recognized, or it's just a phony compliment. An award to somebody I hate, I don't appreciate, but they hit the number, so here's your award. It's like, I think most people just want a warm smile. Just know that you care and that they're safe and that you're available to them. Stop when you hired that person. It just started. What do you want to build with that foundation? And how do you want to build it? And if you don't have a plan for them, how are they going to have a plan for themselves or you?
Right. Exactly.
Right. You can't just figure it out, and the ones who can figure out the best do the best. Why not be a tailwind instead of a headwind? And I think that's so important. Leslie comes back with, we want to be acknowledged. Everybody is only who they are in relationship to the lens that they're looked at. And some people feel disappointed or they failed. Well, who was the audience? Who was the group of judges? Maybe you're playing to the wrong arena. Why should you change for someone who could be tremendously arbitrary? Leslie comes back. This is a practice. I do this in my audio rooms for each person. Good for you. Leslie's had years and years of coaching and consulting. Dr. Joanne, who I just always love to see, has been on the show and is planning on coming back. Recognition is a way of connection and acknowledgement and appreciation. It shows interest and caring. So true. Actually, Dr. Joanne just mentioned a TV producer is getting together on a TV show. So congratulations to that. And that's part of community, is celebrating people's successes. You know, I know Natalie just wrote a book last week, and
Oh, congratulations.
it's a beautiful book. It's a coloring kind of book. She's an artist. And like I say, Harvey launched his show. It's just nice to have a community where everybody is advancing with everybody and being supported. You know, you go a long way with a fan club. You know, when people are screaming your name and yelling for you to do good, you know, it makes you feel bigger than yourself. It makes you feel responsible for this fan club who comes out and cheers you on. And then what fan club do you join after you're done in the game? Right? Do you go from the game to home, or do you say, hey, where you play? And, you know, one thing about Harvey, Kelly, who's just amazing, she has the awesome journey at 1:11 p.m. Eastern time every week with Christy Howard. And, you know, it's just amazing just in the last 6-7 months to see people have 14 new shows that never had a show 6 months ago. And Harvey's book, I think, till May already. And he's only been at it 5 weeks. So good for everybody. Thank you, Dr. Joanne. So, you know, this is kind of a different community, Kathleen, because it's a stable one. It's not, well, who's the audience today? It's the same 90% core, but we already are conditioned to get right into whatever it is, and really be multiple supportive, if that's a word. So, Kathleen, I know you've had tremendous success and experience in the workplace. You know, what's an example of where recognition really turned the tide for a company?
Oh, I've seen it work in many private companies and public companies where they adopt a more regular recognition, appreciation of each other. I'll give you an example of a senior living company. You know, they have senior living communities in Colorado. And it's a husband and wife who run the organization. And they became business partners. And it's tricky working with your spouse, right? And some of us do, I do, and it works, you know, 90% of the time. 10% of the time it gets a little tricky, but works well. And they do such a good job. And they really were trying to build community. And they were trying to bring in people that had, you know, similar value systems. And what they were doing is they were attracting people who they worked with prior, but not necessarily selecting for the right values for what they were trying to create. They were doing the easy thing. Okay, I've worked with this person before, so it should probably work, versus selecting for where they wanted to go. So that was their first mistake. So then they brought on people who didn't have shared aligned values in where they were going. And then what happened is those people didn't share the same values. And then the community broke down because there was different expectations from owners to people executing on owners' vision. Then there was turmoil. There was lack of recognition going up and down, you know, to boss, to employee, to, you know, customers too. Customers need recognition. Think about, you know, owning a senior living organization. These people are in a fragile state. You know, they're going from living independently to going into a senior living home. So you've got a couple customers involved. You've got the human moving into the senior living community. Then you have their adult children who are probably involved in the transaction too, more time than not. Then you have, you know, frontline nurses and hospitality in the community serving people. And then you have this operating infrastructure. There has to be a through line of really, really considerate throughput of who are we and what do we stand for. And I think recognition is at the core of this, because we need to recognize people for doing the right thing with the customer, doing the right thing with the co-employee. And if somebody's not, and they're in a leadership role and they're trying to steer the ship in a different way, you as the owner, leader, entrepreneur have to make sure you put it back in alignment. So I think what happened over time, I've been working with them for over 3 years, and many people in my company have, is we really focused in on what are the core values of the company, what are the missions, what do we celebrate, and and this is important, what don't we celebrate? Because you have to know who you are as a company. You know, what are we trying to achieve? Where are we going? What's our value proposition out there? And celebrate those things. We have a great comment if you want to talk to it, Don.
Harvey. You know, Harvey, I couldn't have done it without you, Don. I can't thank you enough. And I hope to be able to do the same for people in the future, to think how far I have come from the first show in April. And to get your continuous value support is truly heartwarming. I'm looking forward to continuing to work together on many projects in the future. And you know, that goes double, you know, because it can get better for everyone. You can have win-win if you're working in the right arena with the right value and values. There's plenty. There's so much that is yet to be mined if people come together in the right way. And recognition is also duplicatable.
Yes, yes,
Right?
yes.
Because people in an organization say, well, that's how you do it. And I think to your earlier question, Kathleen, that comes to mind is, why don't people do more of it? Is because they were brought in without more of it. You know, they learned how to be a leader from whoever initiated them or trained them or whatever with them. And I think that was why they're not. Plus, some people have insecurity issues and the ability to express themselves.
Right.
Right. And they're afraid, well, what if I say something nice and they say something bad? Right. Don't appreciate it. Or they think I'm a sucker, or I'm easy to get taken advantage of. I mean, whatever can come through a person's mind ultimately will to a certain person.
Yeah.
But you see, that's the competitive advantage. You don't have to be better. You just have to go to work on it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you know, that imposter syndrome, or, you know, we all have gone through it in our life, that, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not, you know, I shouldn't take this, I shouldn't accept the recognition, or I should push it away. And, you know, we're also all bad at receiving recognition too, you know, like, oh, no. Yes, you know, when somebody gives you recognition, like Harvey just gave you recognition, it is a beautiful thing to receive it. So I have a question for you, Don. Can you share the story to some of us in this community who don't know exactly what you did for Harvey? Tell us what you did so we can appreciate that.
Well, that's a great question, and I'm happy to address it. You know, what usually happens, and that happens, like I say, about 14 times now, without the intent of having your own show. Most people, in Harvey's case, Kelly's case, we talked a day or two before they came on a show. And it just happened. I saw them in an audience, or they made a comment, and I reached out, recognized them with a Zoom call. And then once I got to talking with them, and I said, hey, this is a pretty cool person, and I'm aligned with them. Why don't you come on the show tomorrow? And Harvey said, tomorrow? He says, I've never, you know, didn't, and same thing with Kelly, I've never done video. I don't know what going live is. It seems intimidating, whatever. And I said, don't worry about it. Just come on. And that started in April. And every week on Fridays with Christy Howard, on Sundays, back all the way around, Harvey got to not only be with the audience, but the audience got to be on the show with him. Everybody in the audience gets to get on the stage, right? And that's recognition, because if you're willing to support people and you're respectful and thoughtful every time you show up, you deserve the stage, because all it is a microphone. And everybody should be able to hand it to someone. You ever been to a wedding and all of a sudden they start handing the microphone around, and you get all kinds of different, you know, you get people, whatever.
And sometimes they're drinking and they say the wrong thing, you know?
Yeah, but that's what makes live, and that's what real. And, you know, with that said, moving on to Beverly. Beverly's a wonderful case.
Yes.
Beverly does 4 shows a month every Tuesday. Beverly's a a therapist and a coach and counselor up in Montreal. Has been doing it for many years, very successful. And, you know, again, part of the community of builders who see the benefit of supporting others. And, you know, even though it's a collateral benefit, when you share what Harvey shared, your star rises so much higher in everybody's minds, right? Because how many times did you write a 12-sentence comment right off the top of your head for the moment? And it just shows it comes naturally.
Right. Yeah.
When it comes naturally, you don't have to think. You just do. And you know, it's your style, it's your music that people hear, not so much your words, right? If you give somebody a major award and you whisper to them, give them a light handshake, it's like, wow. What about the slap on the back? What about the high five? What about the go get them? You know, and because you want to make it last, you want to make it worthwhile. You know, if you bake the cake, you want to put a good topping on it. You know, through all that work. And I think people know when people are into detail and into supporting people. So thank you, Beverly. Leslie, same thing with contribution. So true. Beverly, I agree with you, Kathleen. Women have a particularly hard time acknowledging a compliment and just say. And Beverly, really, I had to say, focuses on women over 55 in transition. That's her sweet spot. And, you know, I think that's so cool. And she's helped so many people. Click too soon. Thank you. Maria's here from Europe. Great to see you, Maria. You know, one thing I'll say about these comments, there's like a 5-minute lag from the time the show starts till they show up. But that's just, we're so used to running everything over the last 5,000 years that we women don't take contribution. Let me help you. Someone says, and we say, no, I've got it. But the universe is sending us people and opportunities by way of contribution. So we miss it all if we don't say yes, thank you. You know, you do somebody a service who went out of their way to have a compliment, to share it with you. If someone says, I just love your shoes, and you say, don't, they're only $12. I got them on. I mean, it's like you're making excuses when it's, thank you so much for noticing. I really appreciate that. That's kind of you. And now everybody got a benefit versus, you ever been to lunch and someone says, I got it? And then the other person says, let me take care of it. And you say, no, I got it. So are you sure? And then you say, here, take care of it then. Right?
Yeah, it's called the dance, and you know, it's like the you know, it's crazy. Yeah, we all do that. And I love these comments from Leslie and Dr. Joanne White because.
Okay, Kathleen, I concur. I believe we need to acknowledge and recognize when people are doing good work, serving others, making a difference, and helping to better our world. Grateful for you, Don, and how wonderfully you appreciate and recognize others. And, you know, Joanne's been part of this for over a year. I've known Joanne for many years. And she's been into nothing but helping people and working on new books. So, you know, it's great when you have people who are really focused on the future, are comfortable with their past and their present, and are free enough to avail themselves to supporting others. And it doesn't take much. We're talking about a couple minutes. I will point out, Kathleen sent me a beautiful handwritten note that with great handwriting. I still have it. Actually, I've got it here somewhere. You know, I know it took some time and thought, but how many people do that? You can distinguish and differentiate yourself by just adding that little touch, a signature touch that you might have. You know, that people just know when something happens, I'm going to get a box of cookies.
Yeah, box of cookies. Yes. I mean, taking the moment. I mean, we live in a digital world, right? I mean, look at us. We're on LinkedIn Live, right? You know, and I'm in your house, Don, and you're in my house, and you know, and I wish I could see everybody else and see their. You know, we've kind of adapted to this digital age and texting each other, emailing each other. And I love a good old fashioned phone call sometimes, you know. I love, you know, written notes, you know. So it really it makes a difference when you take the time. And I think just thinking of the other person. Don lives like 30 minutes from me, so hopefully we'll meet each other in person soon, and make sure we make that happen. But this discussion is great because recognition kind of bleeds all over the place. It's in every little piece of our world, our personal life and our work life. And you can practice recognition in your personal life so you can get better at it in your work life, because we really just are human beings coming together to do good. That's what I do believe to my core. So you practice it in your personal life, like recognize your significant other, recognize your girlfriend. And the comments about women, we do push people away. We want to kind of do things on our own. But there's a point where the more you let people in, the more beautiful it is, because it's amazing how many people will support you. I'll share a very personal journey I'm on. I was recently diagnosed with breast cancer. And so my community is coming out to support me in such an amazing way. And there's so much love, so much support, but I'm sharing it with my community. I'm not hiding it. I'm not hiding who I am or what's going on. I'm telling people who I love, which is my LinkedIn community, my personal community, my faith community. This is happening to me and it's real. And I've got so much support and so much recognition. So my encouragement to all of you is don't hide. Don't hide out. If you hide out, we can't celebrate you. And that's part of recognition. Recognizing yourself first, who you are, what you're going through, and sharing it with the world, because somebody else might just be empowered by what you're going through. And we've all been through good times, bad times. It's much easier to show up when you're like, yay, I'm on top of the mountain. Harder to show up when you're in the valley, right? But that's when we need each other even more. So I encourage us to recognize what's going on in our lives too, and share it so we can empower others. So I think recognition starts with us. Where are we right now?
Oh, absolutely. That's so important what you shared, because everybody is going through something new every day, because every day is a new day. Sometimes you carry yesterday forward, and things aren't complete, and other things you just get approached with new things. I mean, it's a roller coaster ride. It's an amusement park, this life we live.
Yes.
You can enjoy and have so much fun and excitement, or you can fear and feel all that goes with it. But the key element is you. You have that decision. I knew a lady in Denver who was very significant. She was actually the first chairwoman of the Chamber of Commerce here in Denver. And she was on the Federal Reserve Bank. I can go on and on. And I remember we were on a committee together, started a new organization, which was the Inc. Council on Growing Companies. And we had breakfast to go over what our plans were. And I was going through some challenges that she had just gone through a couple of years before, and even felt her situation was worse than mine. And she left me with just a simple thought. She says, every day you make a decision. You can choose to be happy or you can choose to be unhappy. That's the only decision you really have to make, right? And and that's your choice every day. And I think if people simplify things instead of convolute or complicate or make themselves opaque, I think part of recognition is clarity. Right? Do we really got the distilled version here? Right? Something that it really has some essence to it, some value to it, because there is so much value that isn't appreciated, that, to your point, isn't exposed. I'm afraid to show my painting or my sculpture because who put the because and what comes after it into your sentence, into your speaking. And I think that's where a group comes in that says, hey, That is beautiful, right? If you buy a new hat, the first comment will determine that hat's future to some extent.
That's true. My husband, I'll tell you, my husband hates me in hats. I put a hat on and he's like, take it off. He hates me in hats. I don't know. I cannot find a hat that Andy Votaw likes. He's like, no, I don't like the hat. I have tried so many hats and they look so pretty. Like your hat's so handsome. Like I can't pull off a hat. I don't know. I don't know. It's crazy.
But that's the thing. Whatever you can laugh at makes it okay.
Yeah.
Right? No matter what it is, if you can laugh at it, it takes the sting out.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, okay, I understand. But one thing experience does teach you is what you're capable of.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
You recognize, hey, I'm up to this. I'm more than up to. I've been through worse. And if I've been through that, and I'm even older and smarter and more courageous, because the older you get, the less you have to lose.
Yeah.
You go for comfort and not style anymore. You go, hey, I got to share what I feel.
Yes.
Where before, hey, I'll just sit back. I'll cut myself a little short here, and then all of a sudden you're like, now I'm back again doing the same thing, and that duplicates. So you got to, like you said, get back to center.
Yeah.
Also, if you can help people, you should. And if you can get help, you should, but it's not always on the same time frame. The wait to get is to slow everything down and may never start up. Right. So, I mean, it's that whole where's it going? But before we get too far, let's get back to Beverly. Thanks, Don, for giving me an opportunity as well. I still have the heebie-jeebies with StreamYard. Audio podcasting is easy. Facebook, StreamYard, mine crashed last week. They're so encouraging to all of us. Well, we did it yesterday, and it worked out great, which was phenomenal. Good sound, good video. And, there's always a reason. And I just find that I just spend more time learning up front. Like with StreamYard, I watch an hour of YouTubes, maybe 14 different people. Well, that 1 hour saved me all kinds of time of context, of being conversational, of at least being able to relate. And, I think, again, if you can do what others can or won't do, you're going to get a competitive advantage because they're going to have to do that to get to where you are. And I think if you run your own race and you care and you're thoughtful and you recognize yourself, and I think self-recognition is so important. Because you need to celebrate yourself because no one else will half of the time.
It's true.
No one else will know, hey, I need a cupcake and a candle and someone to sing to me right now. Well, there ain't nobody coming and ain't nobody around, so it got to be me. Right? So you fill in. And why not, thank your feet? Why not thank all of you and recognize how much you do for yourself? Don't take anything for granted. I think recognition solves that. Oh, how many people said, if I would only known, I would have called them. Or I was just about to visit them and something came up. Well, those times can never come back. And what was so important, because you always think, well, they'll be there forever. Or, hey, when it happens, it happens. But, that's, you get what you sow. Beverly says everyone thrives for recognition. Looks like we picked a great word. You picked a great word. You don't have to be a star to shine, but we need to be acknowledged and feel that we matter. And a little bit over time makes all the difference. Many times that one person with one word changed your mind, changed your direction, and maybe you never saw them again, don't even know their name. But they came in and allowed you to make a pivot, or that the straw that broke the camel's back and said that enough, we're going this direction. Harvey, back with Kathleen is a brave and beautiful share. Lovely to hear what a community support you have around you. Wishing you continued recovery and support. Thank you so much, Harvey. And that's what I love about certain people here is they're worth the love, worth the community. It's not like, hey, we let them in. It's like, we're happy they're here because everybody can add a brick to the wall. And together we build a safer, stronger community. I agree, Don, when you face your worst fears, they're not your worst fears anymore. You know, my worst fear is being all alone and trying to figure something out by myself, you know, because you do so many loops and sometimes you're way too intelligent and way too academic and way too objective. And sometimes you just need somebody who you just takes your whole mind off of things, you know? When were you worried about something and something important came up, you forgot what you were even worried about,
Exactly.
right? It was just a default worry that pops up when you're interested in playing the worry game. And why? Because fast forward, how long do you want to do it until you've done enough? And how many come back to that same whatever? And it's belief. You know, they say faith is the belief in the invisible. You know, if you can believe in something you can't see, something that's not there yet, but you know in your heart it's coming, it will be there. You know, you can manifest. I know that seems a little bit, but it's true. If you're focused, if you believe with all your heart that is it, then it is. You know, and I think that's where the rubber meets the road, and that's where everybody can feel okay. And why not just say, I bless myself, I forgive myself from this day forward.
Yeah, I think that forgiveness is hard. I mean, but we can forgive anything. I mean, we can forgive ourselves, we can forgive other people. When you think of you know, being mad at somebody and putting all that energy into negativity, that draws away from your creativity, your positivity, your energy, your energy you're putting out into the world. And I love the story about your friend that you sat down with, and she said to you, happiness is a choice. I feel, you know, my dad, God bless him, he's in heaven. He said, you know, every day we get a gift. And the way he said it in his little Irish way, here hath dawned another day. Don't let it go. Don't let it go useless away. That was his little phraseology. So basically, don't waste the day you've been given. It's a gift. You know, today is a gift. And so we get up, you know, and show the world what we're doing. Reminds me of a Carole King song. You've got to get up every morning with a smile on your face and show the world all the love in your heart. So why don't we just do that more? It's her song Beautiful. And we're beautiful just the way we are. And I think sometimes we're wrapped up in how we show up versus focusing on our heart and then letting that shine through. And that's what your message, like your friend, who I hope she's still with us or feeling healthy, you know, happiness is a choice, giving is a choice, and recognition is a gift to another human that you can give every day. And maybe we could practice it a little more.
I think that's so beautiful, and your voice is stunning. And that's recognition, and it's honest and true. And I do agree that if people become equals with each other, then no one's giving more recognition and getting less, or vice versa. Now you're not the person on the podium, someone coming up so you can put something around their neck, you know, some ribbon or something. You're meeting them with a handshake right at the same level, and actually it wouldn't hurt to distinguish them in ways that are in some ways superior to you. I never play ping pong as well as that. Boy, you're a great ping pong player, right? Or anytime you notice something that you really do notice, right? That you say, wow, that was quite a speech that person just made. Or, hey, I've never seen somebody hit a baseball that far, you know? And all you do is share what you just felt. You didn't have to go into a whole song and dance. It's just like, man, that was a great hit. That's enough. You know, anything, because add up all of the compliments you get every day, all of the recognitions. You can mark them down one at a time, and even maybe stretch a couple to call it, hey, that was a compliment.
Mhm.
Hey, and why? Isn't there anything anybody sees? How do you everybody get prepared every day to look as good as they can, to feel as good as they can? No one cares, no one recognizes it. You know, it's important when you lose 18 pounds in 6 months and you do it the right way, let's say, and people acknowledge it, or they see, you know, wow, you changed your hair, it looks beautiful.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
for a minute, at least you're beautiful to someone,
Right, right, right.
right?
And yeah, and it doesn't take you anything. I think we live in a world that we're competitive, and we have this comparison crisis going on because we're all looking at these contraptions, right? And we believe what people post out there is true. And it's sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. And I think we're hiding behind some of the social media stuff. But everybody, there's a great organization called Invisible Disabilities. Everybody has something going on, you know, and try not to compete with people. Try to celebrate each other. Like, I love what you're doing, Don, and I'm here celebrating you. I don't even know, but I'm just here because I liked you. You reached out to me. This is going to grow. I don't know where it's going, and it doesn't have to go anywhere. I'm here because you spoke to me, you reached out to me, and you're building this community. And that it's that simple. It's that simple. You called and said, "Hey, I like what I heard. I like what you're doing. I like your message." And it's not a competition. It's a giving, it's a growing of a community. So by building this, you're the epitome of recognition for these people here. Dr. Joanne White, Harvey, Leslie, you have created that recognition for them. So I want to thank you on behalf of all of them for what you've done. This is only my second time with you, but I feel what you're doing, and I appreciate you.
Well, that's so thoughtful, and I'm so thankful. But it's really more about facilitating and aggregating, because all of the people here were just as amazing and giving people as before they came on the show. But it does demonstrate when someone has freedom of access, freedom of communication and expression, that the good ones only get better,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Not only
Mm-hmm.
that, a lot of people never thought they'd have their own stage, they'd have their own microphone. In the old days, which weren't that old, you had to get booked.
That
Someone
was 3 years ago.
I'm just saying is in those you need to know someone before someone knew what you could do. And then you had to posture yourself to be like those other people. When if you can just have conversations over a longer period of time, do a little consistently and compound it versus going in for the full buffet, and grabbing all you can and hoping you can retain as much. That's
Mhm.
too difficult. And you know what? It doesn't reinforce itself. Shows
Mhm.
like this that happen every day, same time. It's like AA, right? Every day it's going to be here. The people are going to support everybody here.
Mhm.
And it's safe. And how
Mhm.
many people have had things bottled up all their life because they knew their environment did not uh, empower them to be expressive, didn't reward them to be open and honest. And meanwhile, they've been carrying this stuff around. And it's freeing, because once everybody gives up whatever it is they're afraid of, now we can work on, hey, how do we build?
Mhm. Mhm.
Instead of how do we not expose something like that. Dr. Joanne is so kind in saying, Kathleen, sending prayers and energy healing for you. Don, yes, we need to be able to recognize ourselves and appreciate our efforts and wins, large or small. Thank you both. Great discussion. And Leslie comes back with, yesterday I received a handwritten note, exactly a letter from a woman who had attended an audio room, who lives in Sacramento, acknowledging me. It was written in cursive on white line paper, which I knew took her more time than just typing something. It meant the world. And it is. And you know what? It continues to live on because of Leslie sharing that.
Yeah.
she took something from one person who then made it for two people. And then from two people, it spread to everybody who's watching this and will be watching it. And
I
so,
keep all my handwritten notes. It's like I keep all of them. They mean so much to me. When people take the time to write something down, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, go to the post office, I keep them all. I've had them for years. They're all over my office. It's really very thoughtful. I'm glad you got that, Leslie. You deserve it.
well, what works for you works for people like you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that's important. Wow, this was so great. Well, who else would love something I just got?
Mm-hmm.
And why not make that happen for them? How many times did you ever find a great book and you bought 5 more copies to give to 5 friends?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And what did that cost? $30, $40, not to minimize that, but it's like, how many people are going to get a book from a friend who says, I was thinking of you, I think you'd love this?
Mm-hmm.
Whether you do or not, it's like, well, geez, when's the last time I bought her a book?
Right.
When's the last time I even thought of it? And now the wheels are turning because, well, I'm not going to get her the same book, but I'm going to keep her in mind and I'm going to return the favor someday.
Mm-hmm.
So if people can wait for full circle to arrive and not give it and say, when am I going to get it back, as if it's like a loan, Leslie does avoid personal competence, focus on virtues. Okay. Think and Grow Rich, for sure.
Great book.
Yeah, I read it. I thought it was incredible. It's actually timeless. And it's kind of cute when they talk about it cost 8 cents to get on a train.
Those were in the olden days. Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, can I make a comment to Leslie?
Sure.
I think Leslie makes a really great point. I was speaking at an event, and a woman came up to me who did share a comment about she went to meetings in her organization, big healthcare company, all the time, and somebody always commented on her hair. And so Leslie makes a really good point, and it made her uncomfortable because it was so, personal. And this woman happened to change her hair regularly. So she thought it was about her hair versus her, what she contributed. So I'm the type of woman who you can say anything about my hair, my nose, my lipstick, I don't care. But you know your audience. I think to Leslie's point, which is a really good one, kind of, focus on the whole person, maybe not zero in on one part of a person. Because this woman, it was getting to a point where it was being she felt she was singled out and got uncomfortable. The compliment was genuine. And so what I needed to do was help her find the words and her voice to talk to the person who was genuinely complimenting her, to say, hey, that makes me feel uncomfortable, because this person who was trying to be complimentary and recognize didn't even know that it was not landing well with the other person, and she didn't have the words to say, knock it off with the hair. Really interesting, so I think she makes a really good point, as she's making a few more too here in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you should well, I think this is the bigger one. She had to shave her head and walk into the same room and see what happens.
I know. Well, I might be doing that soon, so I'll tell you what it works. I'll tell you if it works, Leslie.
Well, I think what it shows with recognition and any words, it's context, it's packaging, it's presentation, it's all of that. And if you can take this and look at the rest of your vocabulary and find out there's other meanings to other people, and I think not to prejudge, you're better off buying vowels before you try to solve the puzzle, right? Because you can't unring a bell. And once you put it out there, it's hard to take it back. So I think empathy goes a long way towards recognition. It's so much easier to say, I know how you feel. I felt the same way and I found this out. Or if you think you had it bad, Let me tell you about my thing. And, people love to hear your story. They don't always like to tell their story.
No, we have a mask. We sometimes wear a mask. Don't look at me, but I'll look at you. And I think that's no fun. That's no fun. Let's share it all.
Well, it's like that saying, you go to a furnace and say, give me fire and I'll give you wood, and it only works the other way around. And, the other thing is you can do things just because you want to learn, not because you want to gain. Right? You can ask a question and see where it goes, and you can ask a simple question. You can just say hello to start a conversation.
Smile.
Yeah. And if you don't get it back, then that person's probably not the one you're going to be smiling with today. And there's another one. It reminds me of a high school dance and in the old days, and you had all the girls on one side and all the boys on the other. And one boy says, well, you see Debbie over there, before the night's over, I'm going to have a dance with her. And the other guy said, well, good luck. And he went right to the front of the line and asked every girl until someone said yes. Right. And after 7 girls, he was dancing. And meanwhile, the other guy couldn't get his nerve up. The whole dance ended, never danced once. And it kind of shows you that, you got to get out there on the floor, and anybody who doesn't is no position to criticize someone who does. True. Right? To make an effort and not succeed is better than someone who, they say they've never built a statue for a critic yet. So, I think the important thing is recognize yourself, recognize others. Oh, we just passed an hour. Well, final comments, Kathleen, second time, final thoughts on recognition, the whole experience, whatever you think.
Well, I think recognition is just, we can bring it into our everyday personal lives, into our work lives, and start with yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror. You're doing something great, and recognize and appreciate who you are every day, because that's going to set you up for success, however you define it.
Well, that's beautiful. And I want to thank you again, Kathleen. I want to thank the audience. I want to recognize everybody for being who you are, making life so much better for all of us in such a timely way. So come back tomorrow. We're going to have Kelly and Con. Antibopoulos or something like that. He's got a great story. He's actually in Denver also, getting a lot of Denverites. And with that, come back in 23 hours and we'll do it all again. Take care.
Bye, everyone.